Medicare Advantage, otherwise known as Part C, are network plans. But what happens when you go out of your network? Are you still covered? Hi, I'm Larry Goist, owner of LMS Insurance Group, where we help seniors navigate the Medicare maze. So in today's short video, I'm telling you guys all about out-of-state or out-of-network coverage when you're on a Part C plan. And I'm going to go through three basic topics. So number one is, what is covered while you're out of your network? Number two, what is not covered while you're out of your state or your network? And then number three, I'm going to tell you a few exceptions to those rules, and that's all coming up next. Hey, before I dive in, don't forget to subscribe. Definitely like our channel if you find this kind of content helpful. I really appreciate you doing that. So when you have a Part C Medicare Advantage plan, these plans are made up of a network of providers and hospitals that you have to stay within if you're going to receive coverage. And if you go out of that network, none of those services will be paid. But there are exceptions to that rule. So number one, what types of things are going to be covered when you are out of network? So, for example, say you live in Ohio and you go to Florida for 3 weeks. Or maybe you're a snowbird and you're there for 3 months every year. Well, the things that will be covered while you're in Florida would be emergency-like situations. So, if you're on that trip and something happens, you have chest pain, you get in a car accident, you break your leg, you could go to any hospital in Florida. It doesn't matter what hospital you go to, you are covered at the same price as if you were in your network in Ohio, because this is an emergency situation. The second thing you could do out of network on a Medicare Advantage plan is you could go to an urgent care. So if you go to an urgent care for urgently needed services, it doesn't matter where that urgent care is, you would be covered because that is an urgent or an emergency situation. And then the third thing that you could do while you're out of your state is you could still use your pharmacy benefit. So as you know, there are CVS's in Ohio, there's also CVS's in Florida. Walgreens in Ohio, Walgreens in Florida. So as long as you're still using a pharmacy that has a contract with that plan, you could get your prescriptions out of state, out of network, as long as that pharmacy does have a contract with the plan. So it generally won't be hard to get prescriptions while you're out of state, as you could just have those transferred down to a similar pharmacy. Okay, so what are you not covered for when you're out of state or when you're out of your network? Well, using the previous example, you are going to Florida. You live in Ohio and you're going to Florida for 3 weeks to get out of the snow. Well, while you're in Florida, if you get a cold or you have some sort of ailment that you've been dealing with, you can't just schedule a doctor appointment. So you are generally not covered at regular doctor or specialist visits while you are out of your plan's network. Because again, that would not be an emergency situation. Rather, you would have to go to the hospital or to the urgent care, and this would have to be an emergency situation. Secondly, you can't have any sort of elective surgery or elective procedure out of state. So if you had a cataract that needed to be done, and you were going to be in Florida for 2 months, well, that's not an emergency, so you couldn't schedule that outpatient surgery while you were in Florida. You'd have to wait until you were back in Ohio, or you'd have to get it done before you go. So elective procedures, elective surgeries and procedures that are not life-saving are not going to be covered while you're out of your network. And that also goes along with things like blood work. So if you went to an outpatient facility for a blood work, a CAT scan, an MRI, an X-ray, okay, those things would not be covered, would not be paid for by your plan. You would be responsible for the entire cost because, again, you would have had to go to a hospital in an emergency situation to have those types of tests done. Okay, so are there exceptions to those rules? Well, first off, you have to understand Medicare and the Medicare plans are extremely complex. But in general, if you have a PPO, so if you're on Medicare and your card is a PPO, a preferred provider organization, then yes, you do have coverage pretty much anywhere in the U.S. You can go to doctors, you can go to hospitals, you can go to specialists, you could do tests. But the catch is, on a PPO, if you get services done out of network, you'll pay more. So that service will be covered, it will be paid for, but it would not be covered to the extent that you did it in your home state or your home network. So again, on a PPO, yes, you're covered, you could do those things, but you're definitely going to pay more if you choose to do them out of network. Okay, so the second exception to that rule would be now there are a few companies, some of the major Medicare insurers, a few of them have what are called nationwide networks, where you can, in essence, be a snowbird or be traveling back and forth, and you could see doctors in both states, even on an HMO. But you would have to check with your plan and see if the doctor in that state was in their nationwide network. So you couldn't necessarily just go to any doctor you wanted, but if you worked with a good insurance broker, they could look up and tell you what doctors you could go to while you were out of state if that plan has a nationwide network. And very important to note, very few companies do have nationwide networks, but there are a couple of the bigger name ones that actually have done that over the last few years. So with all these different rules, with things being different state to state, PPO, HMO, what are you supposed to do? Well, that's what we're here for at LMS Insurance Group. If you guys need information on what plans offer the nationwide networks, the difference between PPOs and HMOs, or any general Medicare question, please use the information and the details below and reach out, as me or one of my licensed agents would love to help you. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm Larry Goist with LMS Insurance Group. I'll talk to you next time. Thanks.